a Pope cave. It's like the Bat Cave. It's got a bunch of different Batmobiles in it. And they're like, quick, to the Pope cave, to the Popemobiles.
I'm sure it exists somewhere deep under the Vatican.
I'm not going to lie. That makes the Pope kind of sound all right.
I mean, I'm sure there's a garage full. Did you see? There was, was it? Oh, gosh, it was a Lamborghini that the Pope had, actually.
There's a Pope that had a Lambo?
Yeah, yeah, the Pope had a Lambo. I just thought of this.
He wasn't driving that slow.
It was a one-of-the-kind Lamborghini, and I believe this was...
Did it have a bubble on it?
No. But this was Pope Francis. In case you were wondering, yes, it did have the cool, like, paint scheme with the gold trim. It, like, matched the Pope's robes. So
it was all white and gold?
Yeah,
okay.
Which is pretty cool. So, yeah, Pope Francis, perhaps... was the only Pope to have a Lamborghini.
From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show with Matt West.
Loaded show for you today. We're rocking it right here on the Automotive ADHD Show. I am Matt West. And coming up here in just a bit, Jim Miller is joining me. He's currently... slowing traffic down on I-25 in his K-truck right now. So we're going to give him a few minutes to get here into the studio. Hopefully not be in the draft of any large semi-trucks lest he blow away on the freeway. We're going to talk to Jim about, the resolution to his city council campaign. Yeah, we haven't talked about that in a few weeks here. I want to give you an update on that. And then Jim's going to join me for the rest of the show to give you some commentary. We have, while the rest of the world is talking about right now a new pope. Yes, you probably heard the sad news that Pope Francis passed away. Well, the rest of the world is talking about now, how are we getting a new pope? How does that selection happen? But instead on this show, this is why you tune into this show, we're talking about a new Popemobile. Yes, we're going to discuss the history of the Popemobile. And then maybe Jim and I might opine on some suggestions for a new Popemobile that could add some flair, that could add some excitement to the Pope role, in fact. So we're going to discuss that and more and play some of your car sounds, give you a shot at that golden ratchet, by the way. All of that and more on this edition of the Automotive ADHD Show. Now, the news media, this is a headline I got to get to here. Of course, while we're waiting for Jim to maybe he's still trying to get his K-truck running. I don't know. He said he needed a fuel pump for a K-truck. So if you have a K-truck fuel pump, let me know and I'll get you in touch with Jim. But one of the things I got to get to, a couple of headlines here in the first segment. The first of which is my S2000 does run and drive now. Ha! It actually runs. It doesn't drive far. You can start it, though, and drive maybe around the block on it, which is high praise for a vehicle that I built and did a motor swap in. So I know that you're expecting that most cars are kind of expected to do that. That's sort of a baseline, but I assure you, this is actually a milestone achievement for the S2000. And so hopefully it can improve from there, for one. I do want to drive it further than around the block. That would be nice. Not required, but nice. And for two, hopefully once it is running, it stays running, because that car has been on jack stands for most of my ownership period. It has stints where it runs and then long stints where it doesn't, and then periods of time where it does. And anyway, so that's where we're at. That's news. That's national headlines, right? My crusty S2000, the cheapest clean title one in the country at the time when I bought it, is back, sort of on the road. It's got a long way to go. But the other thing that is a national headline that actually is important, not just my crusty car moving under its own motivation, is a pickup truck that has the automotive media a buzz right now. In fact, this is called the Slate. And what is the Slate? I love what this truck is, and I'll give you a disclaimer. It is an EV, and it's an EV that I like. Yeah, which means it has to do a couple of things, means it has to be a certain way. And what I really like about this pickup truck is, for one, it is a small pickup truck. And by small pickup truck, it is virtually the same size as a 1980s Ford Ranger. And that is important. That is interesting. The other thing that's interesting with it is it doesn't have a touchscreen in the dashboard. It doesn't even have power windows. Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. On this show, for years now, I have been saying up and down, I don't like EVs, but it's not even so much the EV part I don't like. It's the touchscreens. It's the complicated electronics. It's the stuff that can break. It's the stuff that's expensive. It's the stuff that I don't want. Why doesn't somebody just make a simple back to basics EV? Something that has an electric drivetrain for motivation, but is otherwise just a car. That's it. Now, this is a good step in that direction. Now, I have also said that I want an EV that is focused on right to repair. I want this thing to be cheap to work on. I want the parts to be common, accessible, available. I want things like inverters, motors, all sorts of stuff to be off-the-shelf parts that I can fix on my own. Now, I don't know if this is going to be there yet, but it's a really good start. Now, Slate, it's an interesting company because I hadn't heard about it until the news of this truck hit the media. And it turns out that Jeff Bezos owns the Slate. Yes, I know last week I was slamming on Jeff Bezos' space company, and I still maintain that I probably will never get invited onto a Blue Origin space flight, but that's okay, because I'm perfectly happy being on the ground where things are nice and, stable, not in the atmosphere, perilously inches away from explosion. But also, you can hear my whole rant about that space flight. We turned the show into the Space Motive ADHD show last week. But having said all of that, Jeff Bezos' company, he has a stake in this. I don't really know if he founded it, if he owns it outright, but he has a pretty big stake in this company. And I like it. I actually like it. Now, here's some measurements for you, just so you can get a idea of the size of this truck. So it measures 174.6. You got to get that 0.6 in there, inches from nose to tail. And the wheelbase is 108 inches for a pickup truck. Now that's actually an inch shorter than the first gen Ranger. I said this was close in size to a 1980s Ranger. It's actually an inch shorter overall. But here's the thing. With the standard bed, this actually has more cargo space than a first generation Ranger, which is cool to see. Now, if you compare it, by the way, to the Ford Maverick, the other small truck on the market here in the United States, the Ford Maverick is quite a bit bigger. It's the wheelbase rather is 121 inches, and overall it's 199.7 inches long. So that is currently the smallest road legal pickup truck you can buy in the U.S. market. Of course, Japan is out here making fantastic, wonderful K-trucks that we can't have until they're 25 years old. And some people would rather you not have them at all because somehow driving one is more dangerous for the driver than riding a motorcycle. Yeah, legislators haven't really figured out what motorcycles are yet, so I guess they haven't figured out what K-trucks are either and why they're, it's different than being on a motorcycle. But I digress. This is a wonderfully small pickup truck, and this fits in a really cool niche, okay? So it has knobs for the climate control, no touchscreen, like I said. It has manual crank windows, and it's got a dinky little 52 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's good for 150 miles, and the vehicle weighs 3,600 pounds. Still kind of heavy for a small truck, but it's an EV. They're going to be heavy. And it's got about 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. But for a dinky little truck, it does have a bigger battery pack option. You can get it with up to a 84.3 kilowatt hour battery pack. I I don't know what that actually means in terms of distance and other things, but this is a wonderfully cool truck. And even more so, they're saying it's going to cost under $20,000. That is cool. So a small truck that's basic, back to roots, under 20 grand, small, cheap, simple. This is what Ford should have been making. This is what Toyota should have been making for years. Toyota used to make trucks like these. They used to. This has got such a cool niche, though. Imagine like inner city deliveries. Maybe you want to use it as a simple little farm truck in the place of a ATV or a side-by-side. It's got so much cool opportunity. I know, I'm not a big EV guy, but this fits into a niche where that EV part could make a ton of sense. And it's a cool small truck. I love it. I love it. Why don't we have more of these? So, hey, you're listening to the Automotive ADHD show. Coming up after the break, I think I hear Jim Miller coming in. He's going to be on, and we're going to talk about a new Popemobile.
Some call him the Toyota God. Others say he ran for mayor.
Introduce you to the candidates running for mayor. So today it's Jim Miller.
One of your priorities that you've laid out is fixing the roads in Colorado Springs.
Jim Miller.
Mr. Miller, you also have 30 seconds.
That was Jim Miller, just a guy.
All we know is he's just a guy with more cars than friends. Jim Miller is on Automotive ADHD.
Jim Miller, just a guy, joining me across the board here on Automotive ADHD. I'm your host, Matt West, and Jim, welcome back to the show. We've had a little bit of a hiatus.
We did.
Yeah, but you are back. We are on the air talking cars, and I got a couple of things I want to talk to you about, because last people heard from you on my show was that you were running for City Council District 5, and the election came and went. And what are the results?
Well, I got over 17% of the vote. That's the result.
That is the result. Was it enough to win, though?
No.
Yeah. But you know what? You got a lot of votes, actually. It was like a good chunk of votes. And I would like to think that all of those votes were listeners from my show, actually. I mean, I know you had other campaign marketing, you had, stuff you were doing and whatever.
A lot of people that vote for me are people that don't tend to vote because they have similar things where they like, look, I don't like polititalk. I don't want executive speak. I don't like the government. I don't like the establishment. I don't like being told what to do with my stuff. I'm tired of being taxed to death. It's those people. The people that don't vote or don't like any of the political stuff for the most part are usually my people. They're like,
so basically like car guys, like most car guys.
A bunch of people that like freedom. Yes, those are usually the people that vote for me, where they're like, oh, okay. All right, a regular person, not another turd in a suit, not the same old stuff with a different face. And you're like, all right, we found some guy that's he's just out there grumpy and tired of it. We'll vote for him. It seems good. I'll actually vote, they say.
Well, and if I could throw this out here, when you ran for mayor last, after the election, you came in basically at like
dead last.
But look at it this way. You were not dead last in this case, even by a long shot.
No.
You actually did really good.
Yeah. So it wasn't too bad. I'm what's considered a political contender now because I'm very cheap and affordable for votes. I cost about $2 a vote.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think the incumbent cost a couple grand a vote. I think the guy that would have been worse than her, whatever that ding dong, he's a regular window tint cop kind of person, but I think he cost about $1,000 a vote too, or $2,000 a vote as well.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, like so your opponents outspent you by many, many times, like an insane amount.
Yeah. There was over $100,000s of dollars thrown into this thing, and then there's me like, hey, what are you? I'm like, what's up?
So imagine this, though. I mean, some people spent, like I said, or like you said, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up into some of this, and they still got the less votes than you did.
And mind you, that should be something for people to really look at with a lot of this political stuff.
Going to point that out, yeah.
Because when it's a thing that just has a stipend for $5,000-$6,000 a year, and you got to submit paperwork, blah blah blah, to get your little stipend, it's not even a paid position. People are out there buying and jockeying for politicians, for votes in their favor of whatever their interest is. So the piece of advice I have with any of the political stuff with everybody is like, yeah, watch the forums, look at the questionnaires and stuff. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not the best with live TV. There's blinking lights and people doing stuff, and you're like, I have no idea where to look because I'm used to talking in crowds or on the radio. I've gotten more accustomed to, but really look at campaign financial sheets. Remember, anybody funding a campaign, it's an investment. They're going to want a return on their investment. I was funded by the community with donations, and I was funded by me. That's
there were no like out of state interests who came in and gave you $1 million. No
nonprofits, no charities.
If there were, one of your cars might at least run a little better. If there were, right?
Like, notice you got some paint jobs there and some body work.
It's a campaign expense. Yeah.
I had it ready for their body wraps to be put on there to put my name on the side. No, I'm not that.
Yeah, no $1 million interest groups.
No, I'm
none
not
of that.
I'm not that kid in the. I'm not that kid in the party, man. It's politics is a filthy. Look, most of these politician types, so everybody knows too, they're like WWF characters, man. They got a facade with the thing and stuff, and some of it's pretty fake. I'm naturally boisterous, so they try to like keep pace with someone like me though, and they just can't. But a lot of these career politicians types are some of the fakest, just most baloney filled types I've ever seen in my life. It's like WWF wrestling.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you were out there, and tying it into cars. I mean, you were going out talking to, people in the car scene, people who were just living life, maybe working on a car, doing whatever. And you really, I think, had the ability to go into those, discussions with people and just connect to them face to face. And you did it face to face. I mean, a lot of what you were doing, you were out there on foot talking to people in person.
Going, hey, you tired of being screwed with? I am. Good. I'm tired of being screwed with too. Let's be friends. Vote for me.
Yeah.
No, it's but car people are like most of us. We don't like being bothered, man. I mean, it's our work away from work, our stress away from stress, and we get tired of being bothered with things. But when you start, I did open up a lot of conversations too, because I'm like, look, man, we're getting parking tickets at parking meters downtown for roads we paid for, parking meters we paid for, and we live here. And then they're always talking all this stuff. Well, we did charge tourists, and it's like, dude, these are our roads. We got friends and family working down here. We ain't got the technology to slide my ID in there, and it goes, oh, Colorado Springs address, it's free. We don't have the technology to where I can be on a bus and it just says Colorado Springs address. Obviously, you live here, so you've already paid for the buses, so you can get on a bus and go down the street because your car broke down.
Right.
It's interesting. There's a bunch of what I call politically profitable problems that'll never be solved. They're not going to fill the potholes in because they keep getting more funding. We keep voting 2C back in all the time. Oh, let's keep it in. It's supposed to be a temporary thing. You've been here forever too.
Oh yeah.
You're from here.
Yeah.
I've been here forever and you're from here. So these things were all temporary things, but they get new people in and they're like, oh, sweet. What a great idea. We do need the roads fixed. And you're like, I've already paid for them like 10 times, man. Stop voting for that crap. Let's find the guy that's in charge of supposed to getting it done, and let's go ahead and get a new guy in there. Or a new gal. I don't care. Just someone getting it done. I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, has anyone at this point inclined to fix Woodman yet? Like Woodman and Academy, that's hardly a road. I have literally driven on dirt roads that are smoother than that and gave my car less rock chips.
I like how the overpass part, it's like the potholes are concrete. You're like the asphalt's guy where there's a chunk of concrete with a hole in the concrete. You're like, nice.
When the concrete starts having potholes underneath, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But so you were out there, though. You're advocating for the grassroots, the car guys, the people who don't normally vote, and you're out representing them. And even though you didn't necessarily win the election here, you're still wanting to represent that same group of people. Those of us who just want to wrench on our car in our driveway, not be bugged because it doesn't have registration on it, even though it's parked in our driveway, not on the street. We've talked about that before, but No,
I'm a big advocate for freedom, period. I'm all about punishing problems, but I'm not about screwing with people just living their life. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we pay a lot of money. We don't get a lot of downtime nowadays as people, as a community. We don't get any fun, no hobbies, it's insane. I mean, you look at someone like me, I've never had a vacation in my life. That's crazy when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get a lot of days off. It's like, why'd you get today off? Well, I just took the morning off because my body just didn't get up, but it's Sunday. Don't you get it? No, I work for myself. It's every day's a work day. It's arduous, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm actually 2 years from now, there's another election coming up. I'm going to run again. So The website's still up, jimmillerforcolorado.com. You know, you can still take donations, get everything kind of pumping and going, and just keep it rip raring and tearing. And look, we need somebody that's just going to be like, hey guys, they're trying to screw us on this.
Mm-hmm.
They're, you know, and politically speaking in Colorado, now's not the time. We're in a really weird time. Colorado's like this real experimental place for extreme politics and crazy, extra, non-constitutional, overreaching taxes and laws and infringing on your liberties and freedoms and your sovereignty as a citizen.
Oh, there's a new tax, by the way, going on every, we're going to see, but they're proposing a new tax to put on everyone's insurance here in Colorado, too. We'll talk about that in the next segment. I do want to talk about it.
This is ridiculous. This is not the time for a bunch of politalk execu speak, for some knee-bendy, limp-wristy, fence-running, oh, I want to get along with other people. It's the time for stances.
Yeah.
It's the time for going, look, man, I'm tired of the FEEDUMB. I don't want freedom. I want freedom. And I notice it, too, with all these fees and taxes and violating every little thing you do. Oh, you need this to do something on your own property or to work on your car or to do this with your... No. There's crimes. There's real problems to deal with. Get rid of the rapists, the pedos, the sex traffickers. Get rid of the people selling drugs to the kids. Get rid of the car thieves. Do some real stuff and quit doing this little like, oh, it's a law of finance. Mm-hmm. Oh, I did this so I can charge you and generate revenue. I'm tired of all that.
Well, and you look at it as car enthusiasts. I mean, this car show is taking a stance in the sense as well that things that, you know, we have these things that absolutely, as car guys, we think, man, that's ridiculous. I can't believe the city says we can't do this. We can't do that. I got a ticket downtown. Why did I get a ticket downtown for this? You know, this doesn't
parking.
Yeah. And the thing is with, you know, cars, and I'm sure people are like, it's a car show, Matt, shut up. Talk about cars again some more. But I mean, as car guys, we have to be aware of this stuff because all we do, I know plenty of car guys, we're great at complaining about the problems that are affecting our ability to do what we want to do. But no one, anytime it comes up to, well, city council is going to vote on this new ordinance or, you know, something, no one does anything. That's the problem.
It's down to even the carports, because if you want a carport, to put your stuff out of the hill so it doesn't get held on, to keep your insurances down, to keep the cost down for you so you don't have to put claims on. They got rules on that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with this. Look, the government as a whole, the system, the establishment, regardless of local politics, is the one thing where the crap rolls uphill. You fix it local and small, it starts becoming the standard in a bigger aspect. But what does it do? The system, the establishment, the government, it does this thing. It schedules you out. Hey, Tuesday at 11, you can come down here and talk to us. Hey, thanks, man. I think I'm working my second job by then.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm busy. We're all busy. But Tuesday at 11, I can have the freedom to talk to you. Hey, thanks. Or they price you out and make it expensive and argue because you're going to miss pay and a bunch of other things, or it's going to cost you to go do something. Or they just do what happens to most people. They just discourage you. What's it going to matter whether I vote or do something or say something or show up or do this? It ain't going to matter anyways because they don't care about me and they don't listen to me and they don't listen to us and they don't care about us, or they just tell me what to do and they're just going to screw me over anyways.
Yeah. And I think the message here is that, you know, also, even though you didn't win the city council election, you did really good, and you are coming out here in a stance saying that, hey, I still want to represent the values that I stood on. I want to represent you, the car guys, the people who don't normally get involved here, and you're continuing to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I will be.
Awesome. Website again. What's that website?
JimMillerForColorado.com. Make sure you go on there, and a little bit from a lot of us donating will get us ready for the next run in 2 years.
Let's do it. You're listening to Automotive ADHD. We're going to talk about a new tax coming to your insurance next.
This is Automotive ADHD with Matt West.
Yes, it is. And those car sounds were from Scott. And you know what? My guest sitting across the board from me here, Jim Miller, just a guy. I want you to take some swings at it. What car do you think that was? It was obviously a 4-cylinder.
Oh, I don't know. Is that sound a little grumbly for a Honda? Is it a Honda?
No, but it is a turbo 4-cylinder. It's a 1.4 liter.
I'm really tired. This is really a bad spot to put me at right
I'm putting
now.
you in the spot right now. All right, here's another suggestion. It was made by Stellantis.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not going to know. What the heck, dude? I don't know. Is that a Dodge?
It is. It is a Dodge.
Is it a Neon?
No, close.
Oh,
kind of the
Caliber?
kind of the successor. The modern Dodge Dart. 1.4 liter turbocharged Dodge Dart.
See, that's
which is
why.
basically
What year is that?
That one's a 2013.
Oh, yeah. See, man, I don't
Yeah,
even
see,
look,
I put you on the spot here.
Yeah, I don't even look at stuff past like 2007 most of the time. I'm like,
Neon.
It's super new. Look at it. It's a 2000. That's a new car. And I'm like,
I still feel like my S2000's a new car, which I'm told it's not.
yeah, and I go getting something new, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to use this stuff. I need an adult to find out where to push the button to turn the heater on.
Well, you see,
I don't know how to use
for my
anything.
daily, my WRX is the oldest new car, in my opinion, I can get because it still has a key fob, no remote entry, it still has a manual. It doesn't have fake interior, like engine noise. All things considered for a 2024, that's really a car from, technologically speaking, 2007.
Well, some of these cars are starting to come back with like the more analog stuff. Didn't that like super broke down to basics new Bronco, like roll up windows and a bunch of stuff, and then didn't they do a Land Cruiser like that? And the only thing like modern on it is like power windows, but everything else is knobs
especially the Australian Land Cruisers, because they still make the old ones over there.
Yeah, well, isn't the new one though like they're like, oh, it's got knobs for the heater and everything and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's got power windows, and you're like, dude, this looks like 1994, dude. I like that.
It's almost like we are experiencing a renaissance of like good car technology. And by good car technology, I mean no car technology.
And the more analog something is, the better. It's less stuff to break, in my opinion. I mean, here's this. It's LiDAR and radar and this R and that R. And you're like, dude, it's just more stuff to break, man. And touch screens. Don't be driving on a potholed road or anything, having to touch a screen. You'd be smearing all the way across it.
Yep.
You're like, what'd you do? You're like, I don't know. I just poked my passenger in the eye.
Yeah. Just be glad nothing important is actually in the touchscreen, like I don't know, like an ejection seat button. What if you had like James Bond, but the ejection seat button was like in 10 menus on his touchscreen?
We just hit the water. We just hit the water, love. This is James Bond. We got to convert it to a submarine. Hold on the touchscreen. I got to go through 12 menus. Hold on. I need the owner's
pressing
manual.
the different buttons. Oh, we hit a bump. Oh, nope, I hit the self-destruct button. Hold on.
I'm Bond, James Bond, 007. Hold on. I need the instruction manual. I don't know what I'm doing here. 12 menus later.
The James Bond series as a whole would be significantly less entertaining if the Aston Martin he drove had a terrible touchscreen with 150 menus, like the new Astons have.
Right.
Is this why James Bond doesn't drive the new Aston Martin? What are we at on Aston Martin? Not the Valkyrie. There was a new one I talked about.
Is that all the
It's like
DBs?
a month ago. Aston Martin, by the way, is deep into bankruptcy, for the record.
Is that what DB stands for? Deep into bankruptcy?
Pretty sure that actually is. That was the original.
Aston Martin, deep into bankruptcy, 7.
Yep. That was maybe a month, maybe a little more than ago. They're liquidating their museum car so they could pay off some debt because they're about to tip into bankruptcy. And anyone who tells you Aston isn't already in bankruptcy is gaslighting themselves, just like Aston is. They're drinking a lot of the Kool-Aid, a lot of it.
Somebody better call Aston.
Oh, man. But hey, of course, if you're listening to the Automotive ADHD show, we're right here. I'm here with Jim Miller, just a guy. We're talking cars. And one of the things I want to get to here in this segment is the Popemobile. So
Right.
Pope Francis.
Before we get there, though, I just have to say it, man. I just feel like it's that thing. You're like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm robbing Aston to pay Martin. And you're like, okay, dude. You need to stop, guys.
Oh, man. Well, so the
right?
Popemobile would be very interesting if it was an Aston. It's not, by the way. I would.
What is it?
Well, this last one here. By the way, the Pope has passed away. Pope Francis passed away. And
break out your potpourri.
Yeah, and he had been dealing with a lot of health issues before, and they didn't sound very pleasant. Especially, he had double pneumonia. I didn't know you could actually have twice the pneumonia. Is it like pneumonia?
It's like a gambling thing I wouldn't want to take care of or do.
I looked it up online. Apparently, what double pneumonia means is it's pneumonia, but in both lungs.
Oh,
I thought pneumonia just covered both of them anyway, but.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Anyway, he was in the hospital for that for a while. They let him out, and then he passed away apparently peacefully sometime last week. And though, of course, if you're listening to the podcast, the time frame there might not make as much sense. But he drove, well, he didn't drive it, a Mercedes. This is interesting. It is a Mercedes-Benz G-Class but it's not a normal G-Class. So
don't they have bubbles on the back of them? That's all I always think.
They do, and we'll talk about the history of that a little bit here. But the current one, and this comes by way of USA Today, they say the current Popemobile is based on the Mercedes-Benz G-Class, but where it differs from the traditional G-Class, of course, is the bubble, the thing in the rear. Mm-hmm. So it's been modified to have that. But apparently, this one also had some electric power in it, which is really weird. It's like a weird hybrid G-Class. So I guess the Pope is trying to be all...
I always thought the Popemobiles looked like the cars off of Simpson. Remember the Homer? When Danny DeVito was his brother with the car dealers, the car company, and he's like, design a car for the everyday purpose. And he's all, and you call it the Homer. It's got a separate bubble in the back so the kids are away from him.
Was it the Simpsons that had the, what was it, the Canyonero? Do you remember the Canyonero?
It's like, wasn't it running over like horses?
It's terrible,
and it's
yeah.
got like Krusty the Clown driving. It's like, Canyonero.
Yep.
It's all, it gets a whole mile for 50 gallons of fuel or something.
Not miles to the gallon, gallons to the mile.
Gallons to the mile.
Yep.
50 gallons to the mile. Canyonero.
The thing I love about it, Canyonero sounds like it totally could be a real car, though. It really does. It I don't know. It sounds like something the Australians would drive upside down.
The Popemobile always looked like that car that Homer invented, the Homer.
Yeah. So, okay, by the way, the last appearance that the Pope made in his G-Class, by the way, was Easter Sunday, St. Peter's Square, so April 20th, not that, just a little bit ago, and it was in an all-electric version of the G-Class, and it is custom-made. I'm finding that here. It's a custom G-Class for the Pope.
Electric cars scare me. That noise alone.
Quad-motor electric drivetrain, and apparently the reason they did that is so they could optimize it for slow parade type of stuff. Okay. And he's, out there waving at people and stuff.
Does that bubble have AC in it? It'd have to.
I don't know. Well, there are pictures of it being open. I think it can be in an open configuration and not in an open configuration. But that ties into why we have the bubble at all in the Popemobile. And that goes way, not too far back. But
is this some weird story? Like a Pope long ago had a vehicle with a horse carriage and he had a fish. And you're like, what?
The fishbowl on the back. Yeah. I've never quite understood why the Pope actually needed a Popemobile. But, I mean, if you're...
Anti-assassinations,
right, that must be it. But having said that, so the Popemobile is such an interesting vehicle. And you look at it, you look at what celebrities and people in politics and high-ranking religious people like the Pope drive, and they all have something interesting and weird, usually to combat assassination attempts. I mean, you look at what the president drives, for example. Look at what people like that drive. I mean, there's a whole world of armored cars and interesting things that
we need to do one on all those presidential vehicles, huh?
We do, and I want to get to the history of the Popemobile.
Dude,
I want to get to the history of why it is the way it is, and also what should the next Pope drive? We're gonna have a new Pope, right?
A Humvee.
So we should have something different. We're gonna make some official recommendations to the new Pope on this show. You heard it here first. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Automotive ADHD show. My guest is Jim Miller, just a guy. We're gonna be back here in just a minute after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Can you name the truck with four-wheel drive? Smells like a steak and seats 35. Canyonero, Canyonero. Well, it goes real slow with the hammer down. It's the country pride truck endorsed by a clown. Canyonero, Canyonero.
Hey! The Federal Highway Commission has ruled the Canyonero unsafe for highway or city driving.
Canyonero.
This is Automotive ADHD with Matt West.
Yes, it is. And also Jim Miller, I should add, on this edition of the Automotive ADHD show. You can send your car sounds into my show. That was a supercharged Audi, by the way, and the driver of that, he knows who he is. He's in the running for the Golden Ratchet. I should have mentioned in the last segment, Scott, who sent the Dodge Dart sounds in, is also in the running for the Golden Ratchet. And Jim, I failed. I did not bring the Golden Ratchet to the studio today.
Oh.
Have you actually seen it in person?
Yeah, it's a little too much for me.
It's gold. It could be in your toolbox.
It's kind of like dudes and cigars or men that drink with straws, you know? It's just a little much.
Just sometimes. A little too much? All right, I see.
When you see another grown man eating bananas and pickles in traffic, and you're like, yeah, I'm good today.
Well, don't eat the Golden Ratchet, at least, if you're going to eat anything in traffic.
Don't be kissing our
Yeah. You probably don't want to do that. But, by the way, you can send your car sounds into my show, facebook.com/automotiveadhd. Pinned post at the top of the page, and get yourself in the running for some cool stuff. So
some Golden Ratchets.
Some Golden Ratchets. So
those are Harbor Freight ones, right? Icons?
Yeah, they are Icon, though. They're not Pittsburgh. It's a big difference there. Big difference there.
Yeah, anything from Pittsburgh sounds like it's terrible nowadays.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Man, yeah, but Icon's good stuff. I like all of my Icon stuff. It's actually decent. And then the Snap-on guys they'll cry because it's not actually expensive enough. It doesn't do anything different, but it's not expensive enough. So they will cry about that. But all right, so we were talking before the break about the Popemobile, and we were going to talk a little bit about the history of the Popemobile, and I've got a timeline here.
Since it's the Popemobile, does it like smell like potpourri too?
Is that what popes smell like? I don't know.
Do popes smell like potpourri?
I don't know.
Is that the scent of his Mercedes G, just mobile? Is it?
Go figure. Maybe it is. Maybe that's actually where potpourri comes from.
The title of it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Does it have to do with the history of the bubble on the Popemobile?
It could. Well, the history, that does, like many things when it comes to political figures, religious figures, who are candidates for assassination. That is definitely part of that. And the Popemobile here, going back pre-20th century, goes, what they did basically is you've seen these things in like movies and stuff. The Pope basically sat on a ceremonial chair, a throne type thing that people carried.
Okay.
So people actually walked him through crowds and in parades. So that's part of the tradition, supposedly, as to why he's going right through the crowds. He's waving at people. He's doing stuff like that.
It's like royalty in medieval times.
Yeah. But the thing is, in 1929, they started using motor vehicles. And these are early cars. And they're typically luxurious, like
steam-powered
fancy
cars.
That would be cool. But that being said, going on into the 30s through the 50s, various cars, they use various different vehicles to suit different needs. And there's been different Popemobiles, and it's not always even the same Popemobile with the same Pope. It's gonna depend on the usage. But
what? Is there like a Pope cave? It's like the Bat Cave. It's got a bunch of different Batmobiles in it. And they're like, quick, to the Pope cave, to the Popemobiles.
I'm sure it exists somewhere deep under the Vatican.
I'm not going to lie. That makes the Pope kind of sound all right.
I mean, I'm sure there's a garage full. Did you see? There was, it was a Lamborghini that the Pope had, actually.
There's a Pope that had a Lambo?
Yeah. The Pope had a Lambo. I just thought of this.
He wasn't driving that slow.
It was a one-of-the-kind Lamborghini, and I believe this was...
Did it have a bubble on it?
No. But this was Pope Francis. Now, as cool as it sounds, it was a donation. It was given to him, and then he was able to give it away and use it as kind of a marketing thing for charity, which that's a Pope thing to do with it. But in case you were wondering, yes, it did have the cool like paint scheme with the gold trim. It like matched the Pope's robes. So
it was all white and gold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool. So yeah, Pope Francis perhaps was the only Pope to have a Lamborghini, by the way. And I guess
there's probably one of them. Lamborghini makes tractors too. There's probably another one that owns a Lamborghini.
That's
not
true.
the car,
true.
but something they make.
But we had the first open top vehicle was used by Pope Paul VI.
Okay.
And this was in the 1960s now. He popularized it for public appearances.
Then he saw that JFK video and they're like, time for some bubbles.
Well, that didn't come until 1981. Pope John Paul II was, there was an assassination attempt on his life. Again, this was, May 13th, 1981. And granted, an assassination attempt. But that changed Popemobiles from that point onwards. They introduced bulletproof glass. They've got armor plating in them. And, of course, the bubble now that we are used to seeing, which presumably is bulletproof glass. And from there, that's really what I think dictated the look of Popemobiles going on from there. And there have been different Mercedes. Fiat, of course, has done it. I do think it's interesting that the Pope Francis had a Mercedes. I figured it would have been something like a Fiat, something Italian for one. Because, think of where the Vatican is and all of this stuff. One would think it would be Italian, like maybe a Lamborghini Urus or something like that.
I don't know. But he probably just didn't want it to break down in the middle of a parade.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's not lie. Italian vehicles are good for like one race. And then it's like, what is it? It's a new one. And you're like, well, how many times did we build it during the race? Twice. And you're like, okay.
Now, another historical footnote. Earlier in the last segment, you asked, well, I wonder if they're air conditioned. Apparently, they added climate control by the early 2000s. So some of the earlier Popemobiles, that probably was pretty toasty in there. Now, they may have had fans, but actually having their own air conditioning in there.
Of course he had fans. He was waving at everybody going by. He had lots of fans. He's the original only fans with the Pope was waving at people, Look at all these people.
Oh, man. So this brings me to a question, though. So there's going to be a new Pope, and I was briefly looking at what the process is, and it looks very complicated and very confusing. But at some point, they will decide on a new pope.
It is very confusing.
He will be nominated amidst all the other. There's like 200 cardinals. And of those cardinals, there's a special process. And
whenever you say cardinals, I just think of the bird.
I don't know. I think of the baseball team, but.
And it's a bird.
Do you think the Cardinals play baseball? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm curious, but.
Do Cardinals play the Cardinals? Is that what you're at? This is a car show, not a baseball show. You understand?
Yeah, there we go. It's car show.
What did they drive to the game? That's the real question.
So here's a question then, Jim. We got a couple minutes left here before we wrap the show up. What should the new Popemobile be? What do you think? What are some ideas? Let's brainstorm.
You know what? Get him one of those electric Hummers that can crab walk sideways.
That would be pretty.
Just because it can do the sideways crab walky thing, because it would probably be optimal for parking and everything. He's just sitting there and that's just super bubble backed.
Especially if there's like a parade and they have to go around, an obstacle or something. It can just kind of
like roadblock.
Scooch around.
He's like crab walk around roadblock. There you go.
That would work.
I still think he needs some bubble boy hands though that come out.
Yeah.
High five some people on the way through the parade.
Yeah. I don't know if he's like a high-fiving kind of guy. I'm not sure. He should be, though.
High fives are universal. Everybody likes a high five.
Everyone does. So I was surprised you didn't say some sort of Toyota, actually.
You could get like a good Land Cruiser or something, or an old school Surf where the top comes off the back.
Ooh,
that would be kind of sick.
Yeah.
Which Surf, for those that don't know, in Japan is it's like a 4Runner basically.
Well, it is a 4Runner, but it's the first gen,
and they're pretty good though.
Yeah, so, but my first car, by the way. 88 4Runner with the fiberglass top, two-door.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, nothing wrong with them. It'd be good, though. Pull the top off. Like, what are you doing? Pope at the beach.
Mm-hmm. I do think that, first-gen 4Runner, that's a good suggestion there.
I was just thinking for mobility that Humvee, the electric one that walks sideways would be pretty optimal, especially in white and gold. I can just see it just fitting the way they are with stuff.
Mm-hmm. I could see that, too. I would like to think more in, like, the sports car sort of realm because it's a little more... it's not as big. It can get into tighter spots. I liked the Lamborghini that Pope Francis had, but I was thinking something more along the lines of picture this, like a Miata RF, but with like a bubble on the back.
Oh, I was starting to think of like the Beverly Hillbillies car, and he's just in the back of the chair. Waving at people.
Oh, man. Hey,
Texas Gold.
Tell us what you think. Comment on the video of this show if you're watching online on the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and more. What should be the next Popemobile? You've been listening to the Automotive ADHD Show. I'm Matt West. He's Jim Miller. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week right here on the radio when we're talking more cars.